up, everyone? Welcome back and thanks for joining me again today. My name is Chef Alex Ottusch, and on this week's episode we are going to Cuba to make one of my favorite sandwiches, the Cuban Sandwich. The Cuban Sandwich is a little more labor intensive, but I promise you the end results are worth it. There are a couple things that you're going to need to make this sandwich. You're going to need some pork shoulder, some sliced ham, Swiss cheese, yellow mustard, dill pickles, and some pan cubano bread. I'm going to show you the steps in roasting your pork shoulder with marinating it, roasting it, and then even a different variation where we're going to make a roulade out of it. Traditionally with a Cuban sandwich you wouldn't make a roulade, but it's something that I've been working on personally just to kind of play with the flavors and see if I can make it a little better. But if you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. So in this video I'm going to lay out a couple measurements for the marinade and a couple other ingredients, but don't be afraid to deviate from that recipe. Nothing in cooking is set in stone. If you don't like a certain ingredient, you can replace it with something else. Try it, see if it works. Alright, well let's get to it, and I hope you enjoy this video. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is get our pork shoulder ready by getting the bone out of it. You want to make sure you use a very sharp knife. A boning knife will work just fine. I'm using a small utility knife that I happen to have. When you're deboning anything, you want to make sure you're keeping your blade as close to the bone as possible so you're not losing out on any meat, because we're going to slice off a portion of this so we can pound it out for our roulade that we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and roast the other main portion of the shoulder. Make sure you don't get rid of that bone. Go ahead and stick that in a container and freeze it for now, because you can save that for a nice pork stock. Next we're going to make our marinade for the pork shoulder. We're going to get 1 whole head of garlic, 2 tablespoons of cilantro, cumin, basil, and oregano, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, a half cup of salt, 1 tablespoon of coriander seeds, 3/4 cup of olive oil, 2 limes juiced and zested, 1 lemon juiced and zested, 3 oranges juiced and zested, 1/4 cup of mint leaves, and a half a cup of spiced rum. We're going to mix that all in the blender until it's nice and smooth. We're going to cook our pork shoulder at 250 degrees, and the length of time you want to cook it really depends on what you're looking for in your pork. I'm going to cook it for about 2 to 3 hours so I can get really nice thin steaks out of it. But if you want to cook it longer so it's more like pulled pork to make sandwiches that way, that's perfectly fine. Up to you. I'm going to start getting my work surface ready for the roulade by putting down some plastic wrap. I'm going to put the meat down, cover it with some more plastic wrap, and I'm going to take a rolling pin. I'm going to beat the crap out of it until I get the right thickness and shape that I want so I can properly roll up all of my ingredients to make a really awesome Cuban style roulade. So now that my roulade is pounded out, I can start assembling. I'm going to first put down some mustard and spread it all over. Then I'm going to put down some pickles and some cheese, followed by my ham, and then I'm just going to roll it up into a nice tight roll. I'm going to place it back on a large portion of plastic wrap and then use that to roll it up really tight so it keeps its shape. I'm going to roll it a second time the other way just because my plastic wrap isn't long enough to tie. Then after that I'm going to tie it with a knot really tight as possible. I'm going to let it sit for a couple hours so it holds its shape, because I'm going to end up putting it in a sous vide bag with our marinade that we made and cooking it that way. We got our roulade out of the plastic, back into one of our Cryovac bags, tossed in some marinade, sealed it up, and now we're going to let it go in the sous vide bath for about 8 hours. Now that our pork shoulder is nicely marinated, we're going to go ahead and roast it off. We're going to leave it in our Dutch oven with the cover on to make sure we're retaining all that nice moisture from the liquid that it's sitting in. Now that both our pork shoulder and our pork roulade are done, we're going to go ahead and get a cast iron pan, super hot, and we're going to sear them off to get some really good color on there. So I know some of you are watching this and you're probably looking at this and saying, oh man, those sandwiches look awesome, I want to get one. But I can tell you they weren't, because I made one crucial mistake. I messed up the bread. So
So the rest of the sandwiches just didn't come out well because it was too hard on the outside. You couldn't get a good sear on them. They just didn't work out well. So I had to redeem myself. The next day, I made the exact same bread, but I cooked it right, and the sandwiches came out a lot better. Alright, so now that we have properly made bread, I'm really going to show you how to make a Cuban. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the ends off, we're going to cut it down the middle, and then we're going to toast the inside of the bread. Then we're going to load it up with our condiments. I'm going to put some mustard and mayo on there. We're going to cook off our pork shoulder from yesterday and our ham so they're nice and hot and get a little caramelization on there. Then we're going to put our pork shoulder down, some delicious Swiss cheese and some sliced dill pickles, then the rest of our ham. Then we're going to butter both sides of the sandwich and press it in either a panini press or a plancha, or I don't have any of those, so I'm just going to use a cast iron, and voila, you have a delicious looking, properly made Cuban sandwich with everything's nice and hot, cheese is gooey, and it'll be super delicious.